You got something behind your eyes, the way you're talking, it's a cheap disguise. We were made to chase the light, but you
So my family and I, we country folks. Black country folks, but country folks. Grew up in New Roads, Louisiana. When I tell you we spent a lot of time in the woods, This all happened when I was 13 years old. I was out hunting with my dad, Red River State Wildlife Refuge. My dad and I are walking through this light marsh, tracking a deer that he had just shot. When the water starts to get too deep, and he tells me, "Hey son, stay right here. I'm gonna go ahead and get this deer, and I'm coming right back. But stay right here and don't move." I'll never forget it. I stand there and watch my father walk away from me. And as soon as he gets out of eyesight, I hear someone walking up behind me. Turning around, it's the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. She has on a hunting vest, green shirt, blue jeans. But what was strange was that this woman had no boots on. She looks at me, this feeling of peace starts to well up in my body, and she says, "Take a walk with me. We'll be back before your dad returns." Now, I swear to you, no sooner than I took the first step out of that spot, it was like I was transported. Now, I was no longer in that marsh. I was outside of this house on a porch, elevated above the water, looking around, and the terrain was completely different. This house was sitting on the side of a river. She motions for me to follow her and have a seat on the porch, then reaches into her pocket and offers me some chocolate. And now let me pause here for a moment and tell you this. Up until this point, there was never a moment where I felt like I was in danger, or she was a threat, or that this woman was going to hurt me. She actually seemed like she was a very nice person. Now, as I take that small rounded piece of chocolate, it reminded me of a Reese's peanut butter cup, which I love to death. Holding it in my hand, I break it open, expecting to see peanut butter inside, but instead this green liquid starts to slowly ooze out, touching my fingers, and I drop it. It was right then and there in that moment that I realized that something was wrong. The woman looks at me with this mixture of disgust and aggravation on her face and says, "So you don't want it?" My reply to her was no, and I just want to go. Can I please go? She stands up, looks at me, and instantly I'm standing right back in the marsh where I started. Now I can hear my dad screaming frantically, "Franklin! Franklin! Where are you, son? Franklin! I'm here, Dad. I'm over here. I'm here, Dad." Man, listen, my father gets to me and he is pissed. He says, "Didn't I tell you to stay your ass right here in this spot? When I tell you to stay still, I mean you stay fucking still." That evening, we're at home at the dinner table when he's telling my mom about how he left an entire deer in the marsh because he thought something had taken me. Now mom is jumping all over me. "Boy, you know better than to not obey your father. If he tells you to stay still, you stay still. What were you thinking?" Now I have both of them fussing at me. Tears running down my face. I finally say, "Are you interested in hearing what happened to me, or do you just want to fuss at me?" Now, when I told my parents what happened, I fully expected them not to believe me. But instead, my father stands up, hugging me, holding me close to his chest, and saying, "Oh my God, son, I didn't know that's what happened to you." He apologizes for screaming at me, takes me outside, and explains to me exactly what was going on. He says, "Son, it's my fault. I should have done a way better job of educating you about the things that are in the woods. Had you taken that candy from that woman and eaten it, we would have never seen you again. She's one of the creatures of the old world, son. I'm talking about long before man became civilized, before there were street lights, before there were cars. There were creatures like her. I'm proud of you. You did a good job. I'm so happy you didn't take that." Then he goes on to explain to me about all kinds of crazy things that he's encountered in the woods. Now, truthfully, although it was a traumatic experience, at the end of the day, it caused my father and I to build a bond unlike anything I would have ever imagined.